I will introduce to you our second featured poet, Finola Scott. And Finola Scott confesses that writing is a compulsion. As she seeks to untangle politics and examine the world through poetry, she knows her words won't change things, but perseveres. Her work is widely published in New Writing Scotland, Lighthouse, Gutter, PB, etc. Successful in many competitions with three publications and just recently winner of the Ulster Scots poetry competition, slam winning granny, Finola invites you to visit her Facebook page, Finola Scott, to read her poems and news. And well, we get to listen to her now. And this is again a biography that has so many things in it. And Finola, you know what's coming because of course I also did a reflection on your work. And this to me is a poetry of the tides, of leaving and returning in an endless motion, men going out to sea and hopefully coming back, perhaps with gifts, a poetry of people going out to find refuge in nature, a poetry anchored in one place and at the same time spreading over into other places, touching them like the flow tide touches other shores. It flows on to Dublin, Gdansk, Globe, and then in one smooth motion ebbs us back to Scotland. A poetry that stretches also through time, where past and present are also like tides, flowing in and out of each other like the poem about St. Columba and climate change. But I think most of all, a poetry that's rooted in deep love for places and the people that shape them and are shaped by them in return. And Finola, of course, I also want to ask you about your poetic highlight of this year.
Well, thank you for that fabulous introduction. I barely recognised myself. Thank you very much. Um, I was struggling to think about it, but I think possibly winning that last competition really meant a lot because my parents are Irish, and for all that I've lived I was born in Scotland, but barely a year after my parents had married and moved here. So I've always felt that I straddle both and go across them. I've got very, very early memories of going down to the Brumalot and getting the boat across to Belfast at Christmas time, at summertime. So it was really nice to connect to that. And when I was doing a bit of family research, I discovered that my mother's side of the family had been, they didn't work in the linen trade, they were embroiderers who were related to the linen trade. So it was lovely to be able to write about that. And it was about the whole, the poem that won was about immigration, which is, speaks to so many of us. So yeah, that was my highlight.
Well, thank you, and thanks for sharing. And on the topic of sharing, we are of course eager to hear your work.
Thank you. Thank you to both you and Stephanie for inviting me. It's wonderful to be reading to such a worldwide audience. In much of my writing, as you say, I like to travel and I take a slant look at history. So tonight first, we'll be going to Dundee. That was Britain's premier Arctic whaling port in the 19th century, which I think is quite remarkable. But I, of course, wondered what it was like for the women who were left at home, often for 3 or 4 years. And so I wrote this. Whalefall. After weeks of mutterings, of tides, chandlers, barrel builders, of him judging harpoons, of their home strewn with charts, she's weary, skin and bone. She turns away from dark waters, has no need to see his greedy boat surge down the firth. Like the whales, she knows it sails. Their flying speed that carves wakes, announces death. Now she'll unlace convention's whalebones, seek the succor of a loan, breathe perfumed loam. For thinning moons, there'll be no presence heavy beside her. For singing seasons, all will be hers. not until blood soils the silver of the Tay, and his vessel returns corpse-laden. Callous-handed, he will be fresh tattooed. She hopes at least for gifts of ambergris above the baleen and barrels. Now, to get a rest from misery, we're going to go to Dublin for a fun weekend. My parents were Irish, so it's a city I've visited a lot and I love it. The old country. I swear the folk here borrow each other's faces. They share them out on Sundays, stuffing boiled ham and scallioned mash into their fresh mouths. New words, requests welcome, if the harmony is known. Huddled in a doorway off Poolbeg Street, James Joyce rakes the bins, falls into Madigan's for hot port, with 3 women drinking for 10. He insists on lemon and that it'll snow tonight. One of the Dubliners, I forget his name, brings our Atlantic platters, asks if I want sauce. He knows I want sauce. In a thick voice, he sighs, fair play to you, leaves to bestow chicken wings on the folk at the bar. On the halfpenny bridge in soft drizzle, that man in Donegal tweed with my father's face calls over to me. I wish I knew what he said. And Orkney is next. Visiting Skara Brae, I imagined, sorry, I've done it again. I keep pressing the wrong thing. Yeah, I found it astonishing that this place had been built 4,000 years ago. But when I looked round the houses, they looked the same as ours. They even had indoor toilets. They had fireplaces, beds, dressers. So, of course, I imagined what a woman might say bringing up her family in this home. Scunnard frae Skara Brae. Hour excited, he wakes at crack o' dawn, grabs farrels fresh frae the fire, and awa to moonrise. His beardy rasps my cheek, and he's away. No a glance back, no a thought on me. The bairns, they're fu' o' the stains as weel. Have you heard the like? Heaving bloody great rocks. For what? A news? Oh no, he'll haul them to the Silver Loch to stone in a bloody circle. You'd think the sun rises and sets on them. He says he's been chosen, says it's an honour, says I've to be proud, but maybe he'll bring back another necklace. I mind when he draped yin round my neck, all gleaming. I swear the neck was caught up in the chuckies, dark as his een. Och, him and the stains. And the final 2 poems are from my forthcoming pamphlet, Trembling Earth. Like most of us, I'm concerned with the climate emergency. Through my writing, I want to do 2 things. Firstly, I want to celebrate what we have, the wonder of the things that we consider to be the everyday. Then I examine what we're in danger of losing so that we can perhaps take action. Infrasound. I leave these at your ear. A curlew's cry, the plaintive weaving of sky and grass, the shiver signal of bog cotton, the sudden weight of swans' wings beating down tired Arctic air, hauling legends to the edge of this blinkered city. The snap of byssal threads, as engulfed in warm streams, loving mussels lullaby pearls. The crunch heard and felt underfoot as dried out sphagnum moss struggles with cascading memories of glaciers and healing wounds. The high pipistrelle of tattered bats, meshing dusk and dark as a spiral snarled in moonglow and sparking stars. Yes, I know you're listening, delighting in future dreams. And to end, we're off to Iona. Walking around the island, I thought about how much had altered in the natural world since the 6th century, when Columba made the island his home and founded his abbey. I worry about what will change, what threatens us, and how we can fight against its inevitability. The blindness of prayer. Columba returns, his curragh shudders against the angry tide, while oyster catchers wrestle the whipped air. He gives thanks to this ancient highway, to this rosary of isles and sea that links all supplications. At last, alone, he will rest and converse with his God. Soul lightening, feet solid, he blesses the shingle, the sweet clams of this rock, while wind-tangled bladder wrack holds fast. He praises the hungry cries of geese south skinning. He sings hallelujah to the rescuing gift of this isle, his sanctuary. He doesn't know to pray against the warming that will shift the stream over time. He believes in the heavens, the promise of light, knows nothing of ozone layers, of coral reefs dissolving, of the whirlpool of plastics swirling, of oceans rising, of drownings.